The views expressed by our guests in the following video are solely the opinions of our guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and or opinions of the Ola 7 podcast show. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to the Sportlight with Yvonne Mangunda, and I'm very excited to be back again to also give you another sporting story, another sporting journey. Hear what our guest has to say about their journey in Zimbabwean sport. Every week I try to bring you different guests so you get a different insight into Zimbabwean sport. Today is no different. I have in the studio, I think Madimbane Ndimshafara, because this man has been in the papers, in the social media streets recently. She's is he coming back to Dynamos? Is he not? But what we do know for certain, he was once the vice chairman at Dynamos Football Club, and he's an aspiring ZIFA board member development. I am talking about Vincent Chawonza. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Yvonne.
I'm so excited to have you on the show. A bit of it has got to do with, I know a lot of you complain, is it safe to say you're a Dynamos fan, or were you working at Dynamos?
I'm a Dynamos fan, was working at Dynamos, because ever since I left, I've never missed a game. Ever since I left, I've attended training sessions. I've also supported the club financially, even the juniors, even with balls as well. So I am a faithful.
You're a faithful. So let's talk about this faithful's journey. Where were you born? What schools did you go to? And let's talk about your first interaction with football.
I was born in Chiweshe, in Mashonaland Central. I'm a Mash Central boy. But I grew up in Mash East, where my mother comes from. So I've attended my primary education at Chawonza Primary School. Where there I would like to talk about my breaking into the senior team, because I was a very good footballer at that time. I was in grade 5, and they were all grade 7s and one grade 6, a guy called Collins. So I remember at one point my teachers arguing that I was too small to play in the first team. But one teacher called Noel Nyereyemo, he had faith in me. And I was one of the best players. So I had to play 3 years in a row. And the following year I became the school captain. And my nickname was Digital, after Fatali Stagawera.
Nickname yo, saka ibabo muri go. My team, did you already know about Dynamos? Were you already a Dynamos supporter, or because most kids do that?
So the other thing is that my father has always supported Dynamos, and he took me to the stadium, to Rufaro Stadium, when I was as young as 5, 6. So that's why I got an attachment with Dynamos. He loved the club to such an extent that if he can't attend a match, he will be on the radio listening to Evans Mambara. Mm-hmm. And also Charles Mabika came later, but Evans Mambara was the guy. So we used to tune into Radio 1 and listen, or even Radio 2 that time. So my father loved the club that he would be glued to the radio if he's not in the stadiums. So I got that attachment. It was passed over by my dad to me.
Is it allowed to ask an older person how old you are?
I'm 43.
Yeah, because I'm listening to his story and it's sort of ringing. Because this is exactly what used to happen with my mom. The difference is Tantire Caps. So there were days when if she couldn't go to the match, take out the radio. We used to stay Baba Evans, Nanani, Talent, Vaifara Dynamos. So their routine was, especially when it was Harare Derby, they'll take out the radio, listen to Radio 1, Radio 2, watching commentary. My mom would be the only person. My mom would be the only person green. This was my childhood. So I was listening to you talk. I'm like, take it because it makes sense because he says he's 43, I'm 39, so same generation.
We are our 80s.
So you're going to watch the games, you're watching Dynamos. These are the glory days. These are the days when stadiums were packed.
Yes.
Any experience that sticks out to you?
The experience that sticks out to me in football when I was young is the team that had, Tauya Mrewa, you have Henry Bifchari, you have Memory Mcherawa, that generation of players. So I know there is a game that we were beaten by Highlanders 1-0 at Rufaro there, and we were so sorrowful. Like it was a funeral to be beaten by Highlanders that time. And then also probably another thing that captures my mind was when I watched the Dream Team, when it was Coach Fabish's first time home game when we beat South Africa 4-1 as well. Your Vitalis Tagawira and all. I was also in the National Sports Stadium that day. So you find these two memories to me captures my mind. And when I'd grown up also, Juju gave herself a penalty when we were losing in Baba Fields, and I was watching that on TV, and that was his derby as well. So you find that these three games will never escape my mind.
Never escape. I know I'm not the guest, but since we're just having a conversation, what sticks out to me is I think it was 95, 96.
Yes.
And there was a game between Caps and Dynamos at Rufaro Stadium. Yes. An issue here, violence. Tear gas. I was so young, and my mom was shielding me from tear gas and all that. And all that stuff. Ever experienced violence or also those sort of incidences when you were younger coming to the matches?
I wouldn't say there was not even one incident that that was too violent for us, but tensions were there, but not that serious. I would say that the incident that was bad for me was the Highlanders versus Dynamos when I was vice chairman in Baba Fields when we were leading 2-0 in 35 minutes. That one for me, I thought I was dying that day. Because it was so serious. I would see a host of Highlanders supporters running towards the VIP. We were in those glasses, but you could see that I'm not safe here. So that one for me was something that I started to think about my children, my kids.
You remind me of an incident at Mandawa Stadium when Highlanders was taking on FC Platinum. So it started to rain. Yes. This is what I saw from my observation. Yes. Highlanders supporters were coming from that end, ones who got Mashabani supporters. Yes. They were coming kune shade kuzowanda. Yes. But the assumption they would go on with Highlanders vachuya. So then there was a whole incident, and I remember just being tight a comment in Steve Vickers. Mahambeta comment because I'm very short. I couldn't even see like because you're now trying to explain to the nation what exactly is happening. But when you talk about my incidences growing up and all that, and you look at the game now, the passion, the drive, fans, what they used to feel on match day. Do you think it's still the same?
It's not the same. Honestly, I think we've lost the vibe. We've lost the attractiveness. We've lost the passion. We've lost everything in our game, even the skills, because I think it's about development. If you see that Chamum Sanu was part of Dynamos Juniors, Memory Mcherawa was part of Dynamos Juniors, Kalisto Pasua was part of Dynamos Juniors. A guy that blesses me is Mablanyo. He coached Nomen Mapesa, he coached Kalisto Pasua as juniors. So you find that I think because of that, even the kids net that Coach Moses Chunga took from Churchill, you find that it was a deliberate move of development of skills and talent at a very tender age. So you find that I think we are now discovering talent after O levels, or when someone is they've already written their O levels. So you find that for me, our game is no longer as attractive. the numbers that are now coming to Harare Derby. When we were young, you could literally be stampeded. You could be stepped on by people that are coming to the stadium.
And you never, like, imagine nowadays I see people coming to the Harare Derby at like 2, 3, 2. Oh, sure, Borangwayo. Kudara, it was like a home match day experience, and you wanted to be there early.
Yes.
You wanted to watch the juniors in action.
Yes.
You wanted the vibe. You wanted the atmosphere. So how do we get back to that? Because you're a man who was a vice chairman at Dynamos, and we are hearing speculation. We'll talk about that.
Yes.
But how do we get the game back there?
I think we, as PSL teams or as football people, we must be deliberate about development. I don't think it's enough for teams to be licensed to play in the PSL without juniors, without women's team. How do they get there in the first place? And when they win the league, then they will start to form these teams as part of ticking the box, not deliberate development. So it shows you that the system is not allowing young players to be seen, but people are just recycling those players that are there. So for a junior to get an opportunity, I think there should be statutes or policies that forces these clubs. They've been forced to register 5 junior players under 19s. There must be also another clause which says you have to start 2 under 19s in every game. And when you substitute one under 19, you put another under 19. And your games must be curtain raised by your juniors.
Is that the reason why you are contesting for board member development?
Yes, because if you want anything to be changed, you don't back when you're outside. You have got to get in there and help to get your ideas implemented. No one will implement your ideas.
But Tsatashika, on that campaign, I want to understand, how does a person get to be a vice chairman at Dynamos? What do you have to do? What in your journey would you say in your journey, this is what led to this moment? Take us through before your interaction with football in an administrative level that led to that position.
I think also that what I've done in business, the company that I formed, and what we've achieved, in business, we don't want to say we are successful, but we look at achievements because there's always something greater to achieve. But not only that, the passion and the love that I have and I will have and I will continue to have for the club was that I was around the club helping it financially, would do 1 or 2 things for it, always attending matches, that passion for the team. But for me also, as a business person, I was also seeing that there's something that I can contribute. But it's those that were leading, that is the leadership at Dynamos that saw that in me. And then I was approached to come and join the club administratively.
I see a trend, because I had an interview with Faraja and he was talking about being a fan and doing all these things for the team, and then getting to a point where Twine P identified and said, you can come over, get shares, you have a story, you were a fan, you're watching the game, you're contributing, because you were contributing at even to the junior teams and then coming in.
Yes.
Was it a strategy or it was just love?
Football is a passion game, Yvonne. A person that can take you far administratively is someone who has got the audacity to subtract his own personal resources. You know that resources are always competing for different portfolios. But if you have the passion to take the money that you are supposed to buy your son a bicycle and put it in football, such kind of a person, if given the opportunity and have resources even from sponsors, can actually channel those resources towards the right thing. So that's why you find that it's very easy when you already without fame, not for the papers, but passionately and real passion, you are channeling your own resources that you have worked elsewhere, not in football, into football. Such kind of a person is a person that will never abuse football resources as well when they get in.
But we can't run away from the fact that Dynamos as a brand, it's a huge brand, but it's a tainted brand. Why would you want to be involved in the administration of a club with such a reputation?
I wouldn't say Dynamos is a tainted brand. Different people run things differently. And if probably you have any ideas of changing anything, you need to get involved into it rather than just speaking in the streets and stay there. So if you want to contribute positively at the club, you need to be involved with the club so that at least you can try to turn the wheel the other way. The problem is that we can't divorce ourselves from Dynamos. Even my family knows that. You sometimes your spouse will come to you and say, your wife will say, why are you still there? Look at the papers, look at all those things and all. But you can't turn your back from the club because you love it.
But let's talk about loving the game, turning your back. Let's talk about your first stint.
Yes. What
led to the exit? What happened? Before we even talk about speculation, you might be on your way back. Let's talk about that. What led to you leaving the club?
I would say that we had a different way. We have divergent views with my colleagues in that executive setup at that point, because we were not seeing things the same way. It's actually a strength when you've got divergent views. But I think my colleagues thought that we should be all singing the same tune or singing the same chorus. But I think also there was a breach of my principles that I wouldn't agree to be breached. Also, my spiritual values also were also crossed. So I also think that when you have got a two different view, which is so strong than others, they can people don't want to change. So you find that I was trying to bring a culture change into that club. I was also trying to bring order and things that some other elements which were benefiting from the chaos that was there didn't like, because if some people are benefiting from that chaos and you are trying to bring a order and also protecting the shareholder, so they will see that would rather frustrate him until he is spitted out by the system.
Were you backstabbed?
Not really. I wouldn't want to use the name backstabbed, but I think my trust was betrayed by some of the colleagues that I thought we are friends.
Were you bitter after that?
I'm never bitter in anything in life. I think business has done a lot for me. I've lost money, Yvonne, huge sums of money through business deals. Some of the figures I don't want to mention them on air here, but I've lost so many precious things in life when you trusted people and you think that. But any time that you are betrayed, it's for you to learn, because big organizations are built on mistrust. So whatever is set up in an organization due to mistrust, that is what makes an organization move forward.
But the obvious question would be, Dynamos issues are well chronicled. Were you expecting it to be a smooth road? You are a Dynamos supporter. You've watched.
Yes.
When you came in, you must have known.
Yes, I knew that the road is not going to be smooth, and also I've seen from my predecessors that the game at Dynamos can be dirtier, that even pigs don't want to play it. So you find that I knew that was going to come, but when I was trying to implement the ideas that I brought into the club, because I've got a business that I run elsewhere, I didn't mind to face that challenge. So I'm someone who wants to be positive and to contribute rather than to be a backbencher and be part of certain decisions that will also taint your reputation while you are quiet. So you find that I knew that, but I didn't expect that my colleagues will act in such a manner that will play politics when all of us who don't own the club. I would expect that we all came to protect the shareholder, to protect the owners of the club, and allow them to make their own money. So some people will be, when you try to bring order, others will want to steer that order so that they continue to benefit.
I feel like you are giving us something, but you're very vague. So we've seen the speculation that you're on your way back to Dynamos. Is it true?
As I told you that I've never left Dynamos anyway, but I'm just out of the executive. So Dynamos is home. That's where I am now. There was no way that I didn't leave Dynamos, and I'm not. I would say now I'm going back.
But you're being very diplomatic. Okay, fine. Let me rephrase it.
Yes.
You left, or you were booted out, or whichever term you want to use for your exit at Dynamos. Yes. And now we are hearing exit in the executive, not as a supporter.
Yes.
And now we are hearing that you are or will be the next Dynamos chairman. Is that true?
It's still premature to confirm that because there are certain engagements. I would say ever since February 2023, I think I have had meetings with other people that wanted me back, even in 2023, on 7 occasions. And also this year as well, recently. We've had certain engagements that are private. Also on my possibility returning to come back and lead the club. So I wouldn't say that I'm coming back now because it's still premature to talk about it. And up until the appointing authority writes a letter to me that Mr. Chawonza, we've appointed you as the chairman of the club, then publicly we can come out and then talk about it and make the confirmation. But without that appointment, it's still premature for us to.
I'm still trying to get my head around a system that spits you out, then after that says come back.
Yes. What I will tell you is what we need at our club there is just the change of model, not really change of personnel. We need to change the model, the way we are running the club. I'm not diminishing those that are running it now, but I think that there are certain things that I've seen that we need to change and start to do it in another way. In 2023, from match day 18, I think all those that I was working with, my colleagues at the club, we can all agree that we did something there. From match day 18 up to match day 34, that made the club play very well. And it was an opposition that was feared by anyone. Yvonne, we managed to beat Islanders that game that I don't want to remember, that because of instances that happens at BF there. And also we managed to knock out FC Platinum, a good FC Platinum side, in their background, at their home ground. After scoring in the 57th minute with a header at their home ground with all their fans, we knocked it out. And then we had to beat Ngezi twice in a month, 2-1 in the league and 2-0 in Chibugu Super Cup. Then Capes United, your team, 3 times.
Look at him emphasizing like Capes your team.
And then
did him DKB. I always say did him kepe.
So you'll find that there's something that we did administratively, and everyone was involved at the club knows that there was a model which was a professional, respect of everyone, pay people that are supposed to be paid, trying to put a system which was not complete for me. It was the wheel was still turning, but we could see the results on the pitch. And also our supporters were actually coming in numbers and starting to believe. You know what happened at the final? It was in Ngezi, but it was all blue. Selu was blue. So there was something that we did together with them. It was not me alone, but it's the whole executive. There's something that we did that I think if we put that model again, the shareholder and the owners of Dynamos Football Club will smile again.
So let's talk about it hypothetically.
Yes.
You wake up today and you're the chairman of Dynamos.
Yes.
What do you want to do for the club? What do you want to bring on the table?
I think systems, firstly, because what happens outside is actually as a result of what happens within the the closed doors. So I think we as a club, we need to run it the way Mamelodi Sundowns is being run. We need to run it the way Kaizer Chiefs is run, where there's a separation of duties and no one encroaches anyone's lane. And there's a documented way, HR policy of recruiting. There's a documented way of handling our finances. There's a documented way of doing our admin. So I would want to see that model. I would want to see professionalism reign at Dynamos, because it's a team that even if you see it losing, you will never smile. People think that when you leave the executive and then ZPC Kariba comes and beat you at your home ground, people, they'll come to say, VC, if you were there, you wouldn't have been beaten. They think you are enjoying being beaten because you're not part of the leadership. No. Actually, you'll be crying inside. That
you're a
what
better
else?
person. You're a better person than me. I'll be sitting there like, my team knows
So you find that I'm someone that you've never liked to see Dynamos not playing well. But I think professionalism, bringing policies. Also, the other thing that I would want to change at Dynamos is how leadership is passed on to the next person. I would want to groom my own successor as a chairman, and then know that by 2035, Mr. So-and-so, I'm grooming you to become the next chairman of Dynamos. So that we work together, we prepare him, and then when I left, we already know who the chairman is. So that also avoids a lot of, you said backbiting, right? It avoids a lot of, I think I want to use that word now. That stops backbiting, that stops power struggles in the executive, because we know the direction that we are taking. We know who is going to lead us next. So people will start politicking, because the next guy who is with you, instead of appreciating your strength, they will think that you've come to take their position. And at times, probably in 2022, there was an executive. In December 2023, our chairman left. There was another setup. 2 months down the line, that's when we came in as well. There was a setup. I was happy to come and save the club that I love, but I was a little bit worried at that within 4 months we had 3 arrangements already.
But as a female, this question I'm asking because I'm female.
Yes.
Dynamos is not a female-friendly environment. When I say that, it's because you're not allowing female into the institution. If you were a chairman, what would be your stance on issue of gender and deliberate approach on gender inclusion? Because if we look in the last, let's talk about the last 10 years or last 5 years, it's just been me.
Yes.
When I left, it was Chawonza alone, and now it's Messi Lusengo alone.
Yes. I also think that you must also know that Mrs. Mawere was also...
Yeah, but that was
yes.
We're talking about Vanwarin Secretariat and it running things day to day.
I think that also needs to change. Also during that time, you would also see that there are other taboos that were against women that I stopped as well. Or I during my time I wouldn't allow it to happen. For example, you will be told that a female colleague must not be on the bus when we are going to play Highlanders because it gives us bad luck. At one point, I remember in Harare, I won't mention names, a lady was told not to travel with the team, and I came and stopped it. And I
it
said,
wasn't
no.
me. Hint, so you know who it was. You know who it was.
So I had to say no, allow it to go. And luckily, that game, we won 2-0 against Chicken in Baba Fields. And also when we beat Highlanders, she was there. She was also on the bus. When we also went and won Chibugu, she was also on the bus. So I would that demystifies the fact that football should be a male-dominated, just like all those God panners say. God panners will tell you that if a lady comes to their pits, will not catch God. But Fred Rebecca is actually mining 15 kgs a month, and actually the MD is a woman. Yeah. So you find that sometimes we what can I say? We believe these beliefs. You know, Yvonne, someone who believes without reason cannot be convinced by reason. If you believe with reason, you can be convinced with reason. So it's just taboos that do not work for football. So I would also want to see in the executive a lady vice chairman, a lady secretary general, and also a quota system. At my workplace, when I'm taking attachis in the workshops, we do coach buildings, which is engineering. Right now, we have got girls from the administration to. So we believe that we should give women space. And also another thing is that I was also part of the Heart League sponsors as well. So it tells you that I've got something for the girl child in my heart as well.
Sure, because we look at it and we think it's 2024, and you talk about this, but it's also an issue that will definitely bring you enemies. Because when we talk about Nyayeva Kadzi in football, it's not just administrators, players, coaches with those beliefs. Yes. Even fans still have the belief. You know,
that must be demystified. I want to give you an example that I think you've seen the Matic for Herentals as well. Let's go to Europe and talk about Chelsea. Let's talk about Arsenal. You see women sitting on their benches and they play very beautiful football. Look, even if you look at the national teams, your Brazil, your Spain, they play brilliant.
Even our Warriors now.
Our Warriors as well, yes, have got females in their setup. So it starts at the leadership side. We at Dynamos, we used to meet our supporters when we travel to Bata Stadium, when we travel to Baba Fields, and explain these things to them. That it's not all about a woman being on the bus. Look, we've beaten Islanders 2-0 in 35 minutes. And a lady was on the bus, a lady was in the camp. So I think it's something that we should, it's not modern. And actually, for me, it's embarrassing to be discussing this issue in 2024.
It's 2024. Another issue that we're still discussing is the issue of Juju in football.
Yes.
What's your stance on it? Because I've always invited people to this show. I talk about Juju, or even in the course of my career, everybody knows Juju happens in football, but nobody says I do it. So
my stance with Juju, even those that have worked with me at Dynamos, is Juju is a no-no for me, and that also contributed on my unpopularity at the club. Because I think I'm one of the first people that said, no, we are not taking money from the accounts to go and pay a Sangoma. We would rather pay winning bonuses and motivate our players. If Segurundunge can actually play well, then he should be number 9, actually. So you find that they are let's take the Sangomas and give them jerseys, and then they can disappear and defenders won't see them. So why are we training if we still have to spend money on Juju as well? Let me give you an example. We went to Mandawa. There was an issue of the center, right? And our boys surrendered it, but we won the game when they surrendered the center as well. In the CAF Champions League, I think it was Orlando Pirates versus ASEC Mimosa. They sprinkled blood, but in Orlando Pirates changing room, the time of Mark Fish. But Mark Fish scored last minute with all that blood or whatever things at their home ground. They were beaten. So I think it's too backward for us, because if you prepare Elton Chikona putting things in the socks for a Sangoma who is in Mfagos, if we sell the boy at Barcelona or at Arsenal, are you going to give the same Sangoma an air ticket and a visa to be putting things in his to build confidence on the boy? So I think I also say to them, I was praying for the team, right? And I never asked for money for offering at my church so that I can I can actually pray for the team. So I think Juju is no space, and those that worked with me, then I must know that they will not mention those things in my presence.
But it makes you unpopular in our game, because realistically, let's be honest, we've both worked in football. We know how much some people value Juju, and especially in an institution as big as Dynamos.
Being unpopular as a leader, it's actually normal. If you want to please everyone, you have to sell ice cream. Go and sell ice cream, and then you can make everyone happy. Be an ice cream man. If you get into leadership, be prepared to be ejected, to be rejected. Be prepared to be embraced. Be prepared to be backbited. Be prepared to be supported. So sometimes you are seeing a direction where not everyone else is seeing. I want to give you an example that President Robert Mugabe, for example, during his time, he would do things, and then people will lash out at him. But after a year or so, people start to see the light of where the old man was coming from and what he was trying to do for his people. So you find that when you are a leader, unpopularity is not something. If you are popular, actually, it's a problem. My mantra is that if a leader does not solve a problem, the problem becomes the leader, and the leader becomes the problem. You will then exchange roles, and then they will still blame you for you will still become unpopular. Lose games at Dynamos and see if you still remain popular. They will sing you. So either you are standing on your own. They can later appreciate. I'll tell you that if I walk into a supermarket today, I have Dynamos fans appreciating what I've done for the club previously. You find that on a row. Mr. Chawonza, thank you very much. We can now see what you were trying to implement at the club, what you're trying to bring, and we appreciate it.
Because I don't know if we credit it to you, but it did seem like, for example, Panema sponsor and then they are no longer there. Can we credit it to you, or coincidentally?
I wouldn't want it to be credited to me, or to sing praise and worship to myself because of that. But I think that sponsors won't stay in at a place where they are losing money and their reputation at the same time. You must be sensitive of someone's name and logo and all those things. Once you do that, you can even attract more sponsorships. You don't want a scenario whereby you are making headlines for the wrong reasons. And then, so it's not all about Chawonza bring sponsors, or when he left, all sponsors left, whether it was a coincidence or it was something that the sponsors were seeing. I don't know. I wouldn't credit it to myself. But what I know is that sponsors want accountability and acquittal of the money that they've given you. That's one thing. Also, sponsors want their name to be associated with not only winning on the pitch, but I think order and doing things in an orderly manner. I think that I'm an adamant Dynamo supporter, but appreciates the administration of Islanders a little bit. Not all of it, but there's something that they do which we need also to copy as well. So it's not, I wouldn't say that sponsors followed me, no. But I think there are things that we should, as an institution, should have stopped doing and start doing things that make those up, because they were attracted to the club for them to come. But we should have done self-introspection. When I left, I'm not a pope. I'm not infallible as well. I make mistakes. But I will tell you, there are things that I will not repeat if I go back to Dynamos as well. Because as a human being, you have got to look back and look at the things where you didn't do well and change those things.
Can you go deeper into that? What would you want to change? What mistakes did you do in the past that you want to correct if given the opportunity?
I would say if given the opportunity, I wouldn't allow a scenario whereby in an executive that you are part of, you start to crack, right? And then you see that we have got cracks in here, and then you turn a blind eye. You need to be confrontational. Gentlemen, where did we go wrong? You seem to be doing this, you seem to be doing this, you seem to be doing this. Have I done anything wrong to you? You are no longer greeting me. When I see you, you guys, you are now sitting on your own corner and all those things. So there are certain things like that I ignored and just say, no, gentlemen, we just need to be professional. Let's go this way and all. So I think that I'll be very candid and open about it. The way I do it in my business, that I would allow my manager to just do things that are wrong, that we see that our supporters or clients will run away from us, but you allow it to happen. And also know that there's a thing called voting in these executives. So regardless of your idea, which you think it's brilliant, but if your colleagues connive, they also vote against that idea as well.
Did you realize you're giving us a picture of what your executive was like? Very divided, hey?
It was. I wouldn't want to say we were not divided when we were divided. The only way to improve, Yvonne, is to be self-aware. Self-awareness. If you know that you don't know accounts, you need to hire an accountant. If you know that you don't know law, you need to engage a lawyer when you've got legal issues. So self-awareness is very important. So we need to know that we allowed certain things to go between us, and it divided us. And then at the end of the day, we were no longer focusing on improving football, but who has done what in the executive and all. Not only in our executive, you can tell me that football administrators make headlines more than footballers who bring people to the stadiums these days. You find that it's all about Chawonza has done that, this chairman has done that, this one has done that. But if we could profile Frank Makarati or Emmanuel Jalai, the person who brings people to the stadiums, and then I think even in the executive, even in the media, they focus also on us, and we start to they cause those fights as well.
So we've spoken about all this.
Yes.
What were your highlights being at Dynamos as VC?
I think bringing Chibuku to Dynamos after a very long time of trophy drought. That's number one. Number two, having the guts to change things that were traditional and unchangeable at the club as well. Having the guts to be honest and be candid. I think those that have worked with me will tell you, even from the secretariat, that I would take a media person there, a security officer there, a CEO there. We discuss our issues openly after the football, after the game. So those were my highlights, and also the fact that it seems that the things, what we were implementing at the club was working perfectly well as well. We could see with what we achieved in a short period of time. Because imagine making changes in 6 months and then see those things happening. And I thought that the results will come in the following season. But it was too quick, even to my surprise, that we were achieving certain results. So I think I brought another dimension of administration, that it's also possible that we can be professional. It's also possible that we can win trophies. Remember, we have won it again, back to back. Though we finished 7 on the league, but we forget about those numbers. But we have won it again. So I think those were actually my highlights as well.
And let's talk about the downside.
Yes.
The things you just want to forget.
Is the media backlash. I would want to forget that, because I remember at one point, I've got 4 kids and my daughter is 11. I remember my daughter coming to me saying, "Dad, why have they booted you out?" So she actually used that word, booted out, because I was always in the paper and their friends would say, "Yeah, we've seen your dad in the paper." Yes. And then I was also interviewed by Stanbic Bank. I'm on their media page about my business profile and all. Then the kids would go to my daughter and say, "No, we've seen your dad on YouTube. You see, so your dad is that successful." So my kid answering, questioning me that, and also she was very down. You see, football. Everything about us involves our families, our wives, our kids, our brothers, and all. And this name is being carried by a lot of people as well. So you find that that for me, I didn't like it because my daughter was so, she was so sorrowful. But Daddy, why did they why were you booted out?
But you were saying something that I've never actually thought, because I'm one of those very blunt, aggressive journalists.
Yes.
And when you do make these articles, the stories, you never think about the person and their family, their kids, how it affects them, because Kwatini is a job. We have to do it.
Yes. As journalists, I think you should be sensitive to, on that.
But can I make a boot out?
Okay, use a toned down word than booted out. But I think also fame comes with that as well. Once you start to hit the headlines, you can also be affected in that way. I'm actually happy that there's no article that said that or your picture being taken and being put again besides a lady, and they talk to you about as if you had cheated.
But did you see the article? The article that affected me the most. Did you see the one that said Big Brother House? Yes. And it had all of us. And resign. Like, literally, I was sitting, because you obviously at another workplace.
Yes.
And some people don't understand, or they say things about maybe Kwaga, Vaga, Zinkwa, or whatever. Yes. And then you wake up, there's this big headline, and it says Big Brother House evictees.
Yes.
And my face is there. I'm like, I wasn't evicted. I left. But I do get and understand what you're saying. There's certain times when I think I got a taste of my own medicine.
Yes.
Because I spent the whole day thinking, now everybody thinks I was fired. I wasn't fired. So I can imagine which is booted.
So in football, whether you live on your terms or not, they will not say you resigned. We fired. Chawonza fired. That sells the papers. But I think those negative headlines and how it affected my daughter. The boy didn't care. But my daughter was a little bit concerned. And then the other thing that I didn't like was to see the team that we thought is going to take the league after playing well in the Chibuku Cup final being beaten just 4 weeks later by Ngezi at the same ground. 2-0, we had beaten them 2-0, and we thought no one can beat us in this world. Even I saw another fan writing, we now want Barcelona. Yes, with a placard. So to see our team struggle with games and now being a topic of players are striking, we are now being beaten. If you go to the VIP section, you won't watch the football in peace. Because some people were saying, because you left it, that's why. Then you want just to come and watch football and enjoy football. But that is another thing that I didn't like. Then another thing was the numbers of fans that were coming to watch our club. Even if we are playing FC Platinum or Ongezi or Chikenine, a big club like Chikenine, you would see a very small contingent. Even Harare Derby could not fill up Rufaro Stadium. To me, I didn't like it. It's something that I didn't want to see.
But why would you want to come back? If there's this opportunity, obviously, you said you are in talks. Nothing concrete has happened, but your family, your wife, especially your wife, doesn't say, come out, get booted foot.
I'll tell you what my wife told me when all this happened. She said, I don't want you to go back again into football. But she's very supportive because she knows what excites me, what makes me happy, what motivates me. So you find that she is actually, in the first days, she didn't want me even to go to the stadium to watch Dynamos or even herself. But we started to go back to the stadiums when we were not in the executive, just to watch. So you find that she's very supportive of any decision that I make. I'm also someone who's very calculative. Prior to coming to become a vice chairman, I was a secretary general for development, and I resigned from the club when other people were jostling to come to join Dynamos or to save it at any opportunity. I actually left because I was not happy with the way things were being handled. So but when I came in, I thought with the setup that was there now, with the new faces and the people that were professional that I was seeing from the outside, I thought now I can come back in there and make a change. So you find that football is one thing that our spouses and wives would say, even kids, don't go there. But it's a passion game now. When you love the club and the game, you can't stay away from it.
And we look at all this at Dynamos.
Yes.
You haven't, like you said negotiations are still ongoing for you to come back to Dynamos.
Yes.
You are now looking at another position because you're contesting for board member.
Yes.
In the ZIFA elections.
Yes.
Take me through that decision. After what happened at Dynamos and how it ended.
Yes.
What led to the decision to say, now I even want to look for a position even higher?
It's because I think we've spoken that I started to play football on a very tender age. In my high school days, I didn't play for the school team. There were things that segregation and all things that I didn't like there about the selection of the school team. I played for a Division 2 club, GMB Pirates, and I was in Form 2, getting into Form 3, very young. But I used to play with a teacher called Mr. Mpario. I've done my high school at Mtoko High School. So you find that the fact that my teammate in Division 2.
So, Mr. Chawonza, you're contesting for board member development.
Yes.
How sure are you that you win? Looking at all the politics that happens behind and the number of candidates in the selection.
I'm definitely sure that I'm going to win because of what I'm going to contribute to football. But before that, what I've done for juniors, probably owning an academy only is not enough. But I've demonstrated outside the cameras and the newspapers what I've done for development in terms of committing personal resources to develop grassroots, and also the passion that I've got for them. I watch D3, I watch D2, I go to schools, Nash, Coca-Cola tournament, and watch. This year I've also gone into inter-district competitions. I would go to Mtoko when they are playing as a district. I would go to Marsh West with my friends. So that's how passionate I am. So in terms of winning, I know definitely that it's my time to help my country.
But a person would say, if you look at the landscape in the previous elections, sometimes not really about you're the one with the love of the game. It's not really observing, not voting.
Yes.
It's not always about the candidates that we think are Bora.
Yes. One thing that I would tell you is that I'm a businessman, of course. I've got certain resources that I have, but I'm not going to abuse these resources to get into office, because I'm not going there for financial gain, but for me to correct certain things that I think in development hasn't been done. I'll give an example that in the previous ZIFA elections, I will not mention names of candidates, but I've seen a candidate with resources winning an election that would think that he has paid councillors to win. I've also seen a candidate with money being beaten by someone
who has money,
and he goes to sleep with someone who is like who could be his employee. But that has happened also in football. So you find that it's not all about resources or what, but when councillors want to vote football people or someone which they think can change the game, they can do that, and they've done it in the past. And I've seen it, that those guys will go and do whatever they do. But at the end of the day, I've seen a very big man with all the resources being beaten by someone who would say, in terms of resources, is a David.
But wouldn't you say when you're in Rome, do what the Romans do? So if the strategy that others have been implementing in the past works? What stops a man from just saying, didn't do a system yet?
I would want to say that in my personal life, where I'm coming from, my principle is that behave like others but think differently. So the moment you start to think differently in private and outside meetings, do things that are correct and that correct systems. So that's why you find that I would move around with my colleagues in public, correctly at Dynamos, but my thinking was different. I wanted the club to go forward. I'd seen certain holes that I wanted to plug, where I could see that resources are leaking through these resources. So usually I don't think when you're in Rome, you have to do what Romans do. You must act like an ambassador. A Nigerian ambassador here, if you go in a Nigerian embassy, you think that you're in Nigeria. Mm-hmm. He speaks the language of his government. He doesn't speak the Zimbabwean message, such as American ambassadors as well. They speak what their government are telling them to do. So for me, I don't behave. I'm not going to behave the way others are behaving. I'll be different.
So would you say Dynamos was a good teaching platform for you going into everything that you face later on in football?
I think even in life in general, if you have worked for Dynamos for 2 weeks or just 3 days, I think you can agree with me that there's nothing else in life which can be as probably muddy. So you find that I think it's a good platform for football administration, but most importantly, the lessons that we've learned, the mistakes that we've done, and all the things that we've seen that needs to be corrected in our football are best experienced at a place like Dynamos.
You remind me of what Isaiah Mfuruta was our chairman then used to tell me that Yvonne, if you survive Dynamos and if you work at Dynamos, wherever you're going to go, yes. This is like the fire. You face the fire and like gold. You come yes. out and you're like, people forget because yes. it teaches you life lessons.
Yes, it does. Not only life lessons. The institution is big, but sometimes I think those that are in that institution don't even comprehend how big it is. Such an extent that I think the level that we are operating at, it's 1% of our potential. So you find that you are in there, how as big as it is, with the demands that it comes, with the fans that are so passionate and who can even cry when they are beaten. You can tell that people cry when Dynamos has been beaten. But you find that all that is good experience for football administration. There is no other place that you can be scared, because we have also so many fans that attend our matches as much as they attend national team games. So even for players as well, I think some boys will come from other clubs like Aradi City, and it will take them 10 to 5 games to gel with the whistles and the noise and the stage, that the atmosphere that is created by our supporters.
But I think, like you're saying, that we're at a stage where the people that have the power don't understand what big product they have. Because unless and until you've been either an employee or in administration or you are in the board or you're with whatever capacity as a player, as a coach, yes. Unless you've been that at Dynamos, yes. You sort of don't realize, like especially for me growing up on the other side of yes. the town, yes. When you enter, it's the first thing that strikes you, like you join this thing that is bigger. Like even yes. when you walk in the street and people yes. talk to you, you then realize this is a big. Yes. And then you look on the ground, the club, when you compare with other clubs nowadays. Yes. Yes. I was giving the example, Yeguti, in this off season. Yes. Chances are players are looking at other teams that don't have the support base as Dynamos to say, this is where I want to go. Yes. Wherein in the yesteryear, Dynamos was number 1 on the list in the transfer market.
Yes.
So how do you improve that if you are given a chance?
Well, it's there's something that is called brand equity. It's how how the world views your brand and the value that is given. But I think the way we are, if you professionalize the way the club is run, then even if the corporate world will also take you seriously and pour their money in, because they'll know the mileage that they're going to get. But as I have rightly said before, that I think we need to give Dynamos its right place when you're actually in there and given an opportunity to save that big brand. Remember, it's now more than 60 years old, so it's an elder in as far as football is concerned. So I think if we want to professionalize it, we want to commercialize everything about Dynamos and also sell it as a good brand. If you know your value, you don't, even if it's sponsorship, you don't just accept small amounts as if you don't know your value. So where Dynamos is, even up to now, players may run away from Dynamos or join other teams because of money and all. It still remains the most successful club in the world. And when club rankings came out in Africa, the only team that I saw there was Dynamos there. So it means that even in Africa, the way we are perceived is probably more than the way we perceive ourselves.
We don't understand the value of the brand that we have.
Yes.
So you look at this situation, you look at your aspirations, your personal ambitions, you want to get into the ZIFA board, you're saying you want to bring something into the sport. And then if you find yourself as the vice chairman, as the chairman actually of Dynamos, I just don't want these ideas.
Actually, I would have to relinquish one post there. I cannot be both, because you find that Dynamos, the pressure there is as big as probably more than what you get at the national team, because of the number of games that are played at the national team. You are busy at a certain point, but I know development is busy through and through every day of your life. You are quite busy, but I don't think these two can actually be done at the same time. I need to be real.
But then are you not then selling a story? Because let's say, for example, we are in December.
Yes.
Let's say your negotiations happen,
Yes.
and you find yourself at Dynamos January.
Yes.
That's the same month as the elections.
So what it means is that once we agree with the Dynamos, I've got to relinquish the contest. You know, there are other 30 other candidates, more than 30 actually, that are vying for this post. So it wouldn't be good for me to just fill in the gap and have this load also that I want to do, and then also take this load probably. So it means that you love one more than the other, and the other will not. So to be honest with you,
I can't wait to see how this goes. I can't wait to see how this goes.
I've got to make a decision on which direction I'm taking. Honestly, and take one.
And
option.
you can't go, because we are close to rounding this.
Yes.
You can't go without us talking about, obviously, the owner of Dynamos.
Yes.
You have all these plans. You have all these things that you learned from the last time.
Yes.
You know the reputation he has in the streets, where people think he's not open to new ideas, he's got his people, that sort of thing. Yes. So how does this fit into your plans if you were to go to Dynamos? Because the owner stays Bernard Marriott.
Yes.
The same person was around when you left.
Yes. What I will tell you is that minds change and perceptions change. Me and Mr. Bernard Marriott, I've also said it before earlier this year, that we have a son-father relationship, and that is not going to change. The fact that probably me as a son, I've erred and I've been disciplined by my father, or he thinks that the other way, which is wrong actually, but he still remains my father. So the fact that his views and my views were not hand in glove, probably at a certain point, it doesn't mean that he doesn't also realize that my son was correct after all, after a certain period, and we can come back again and find each other. So you find that our relationship is never even twinkled or affected by anything, because if you don't agree, Kubasa, the Kumba, it's a different story altogether. So people think that that's why I've been around Dynamos all along, even up to Chibuku Cup final. I've always been supporting my team and I know the owner. He's a father to me, and that will not change.
You heard, I tried to probe. I hope I answered some of the questions that you had about Vincent Chawonza. A lot was said in the media. And I know I said my last question, but I have to say this again. It's the last question.
Yes.
In your last stint at Dynamos,
Yes.
the perception out there was you are media hungry. You want to be seen in the limelight.
Yes.
You want people to see Chawonza is the VC. He's the one speaking.
Yes.
Is that the correct perception? And going forward, are there things you need to correct about that?
It's not the correct perception because I just feel that there were some things that happens behind the scenes where my character was actually supposed to be perceived as someone who is causing divisions, as someone who is causing who lacks media, as someone who goes to media without actually seeking approval, as someone who's making all the bad decisions at Dynamos. But remember, the executive is 7 people, and before you make every decision, there are 7 people. So do you think one man, just myself, will make unilateral decisions all the time, and I'm a vice chairman all the time? So you find that at times I feel that my name was written in bold letters than Dynamos to make the public see the Chawonza as if Chawonza is causing the divisions. But I would want football judged. When Chawonza made all those contributions, you saw what happens to our club. When Chawonza left, you also saw what happened to our club. It's for you to judge. I'm not going to say those things, but it's for you to judge. But football in itself judges you.
He's being very diplomatic. So thank you for being on the show. Thank you for being very patient. Thank you for being on the show. I can't say too much, but this man is a patient man, believe me, because behind the scenes, when you're about to shoot a show, but this man was very patient. Thank you for being very patient. Thank you for giving me your story, because we had this conversation off air before we had the sit down. I felt like I found new things about you, because before I was one of those people that were like, Mabanda media. But it's nice to sit down, have a conversation, get an understanding of what was happening, and hopefully if you do go back to Dynamos, like I said, so I have a love for Dynamos. I have an attachment for Dynamos, and it's the reason why I worked at Dynamos. I'm hoping that this time around, if you go back, there won't be the divisions that are synonymous with Dynamos. That Dynamos can be what Dynamos is supposed to be. I think I'm Shingo in Vanna Kaiser Chiefs, and now Ali and Anani when we've got Dynamos. So until the next time, I hope you had an insightful conversation. You listened to this and you learned new things. I'll bring you another sporting personality in the next episode, so you get to know the story behind the people that we see in the papers, the people that we see on television. A lot is said, like Mr. Chawonza was saying, that make you have a perception about a person. It's always nice to have these conversations where you get to learn about the person. Until the next time, goodbye.